Hi, this is Donald here, and this is my review of The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. The 4-Hour Workweek is a self-help entrepreneur book written in 2007 by the entrepreneur, businessman, and world traveler Tim Ferriss. It is a book that talks about managing your lifestyle to live a life that you desire rather than waiting until retirement and hoping the life you want is there. Basically, living in the present. It considers those who have an entrepreneurial/adventurous lifestyle to be the new rich. Tim Ferriss refers to those with an entrepreneur, adventurous, take charge of your own life mindset to be the new rich, who are those who are able to achieve what they want out of life and play the game of life that they want, rather than to be controlled by society and their employer. Sounds a bit dramatic the way I described it, but I think it's an applicable book to most people. I read a digital copy of this book, so I can't comment to the physical copy, but I am planning on buying a physical copy sometime. Now, this book deals with 4 main topics, and the acronym is DEAL. It is definition, as in paradigm shift, elimination, automation, and liberation. What did I think about this book? This book is an immensely helpful perspective on the working man's life. It has elements of entrepreneurship and business, but also plenty of general advice about being comfortable with being uncomfortable, the use and purpose of money in life, and what the purpose of work itself is, and so on and so on. At the end of each of Tim Ferriss's chapters, there's a huge list of references. It's pretty impressive, really. Unfortunately, a lot of them are out of date, but nevertheless, you get the gist of what the reference is pointing you towards, and you can easily find something similar with a quick search. I went through this book pretty quickly in just about a week, so I was very engaged and excited to read the book. I wrote notes and did the exercises in the book, and I found it to be quite helpful. I think the humble individual, and I don't mean that in a negative sense, a humble individual can read this book and find something that they would like to try to do. Even if you don't quite agree with everything that's being said, it's quite a gold mine of tips and information you can try out. There are dozens of tips in this book, but some of the general tips I really enjoyed were: retirement is the worst case scenario. The timing is never right. Ask for forgiveness, not permission. Relative income is more important than absolute income. The 20-80 Pareto principle when it comes to work. Being effective rather than efficient at work. The importance of a low information diet. Lifestyle planning and what you want to do now becoming reality. Checking email much less often at work and definitely never in the morning. Losing sight of dreams for work's sake. And the importance of being unrealistic and letting go of realism to achieve what you really want. Now, I'm not going to get into all the nifty details of the book, as this is just a review. But needless to say, I thoroughly enjoyed this book and definitely will be rereading it in the future. As some of the cons of the book, towards the end, I was feeling maybe a tad negative towards the book, as one of the emotions I was feeling. I figure it came from a place of comparison and maybe even jealousy, because there is admittedly a lot of self-aggrandizing, prioritization of the self, lots of publicity towards the author, right? He's definitely a networker and isn't shy with spreading his name. A lot of consumption of activities for happiness in a sense. Like, happiness is excitement, which I think most people would disagree with. And frankly, there is a lot of gross exaggeration in this book. Some of it's helpful, but some of it's really just circumstantial, right? For example, the author went to an Ivy League college with a very stable family, suburbia of America. seems to have a really strong work ethic, which seems a little unnatural for how intense it is. And basically, a lot of the principles in the book, or a lot of the examples, come down to, step one, be rich. Step two, do everything else, right? And that's definitely a cynical take of it, but I can see why some people might be turned off by this. That being said, I don't think this is really a big reason to stay away from the book. It's really a minor point, and I think there's a lot of good information for people to stay. And frankly, he is quite a likable guy, notwithstanding some of his bragging or, look how successful I've been kind of style of writing. He does genuinely offer a lot of helpful advice. Now, here are some quotes that I enjoyed. When I was in data storage sales, my first gig out of college, I realized that most cold calls didn't get to the intended person for one reason: gatekeepers. If I simply made all my calls from 8 to 8:30 a.m. and 6 to 6:30 p.m. for a total of 1 hour, I was able to avoid secretaries and book more than twice as many meetings as the senior sales executives who called from 9 to 5. In other words, I got twice the results for 1/8 the time. I realized that on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being nothing and 10 being permanently life-changing, my so-called worst-case scenario might have a temporary impact of 3 or 4. I believe this is true of most people, and most would be, oh shit, my life is over, disasters. Keep in mind that this is a 1 in a million disaster nightmare. On the other hand, if I realized my best case scenario, or even a probable case scenario, it would easily have a permanent 9 or 10 positive life-changing effect. There are 2 synergistic approaches for increasing productivity that are inversions of each other. 1. Limit tasks to the important to shorten work time, the 80-20 principle. 2. Shorten work time to limit tasks to the important, Parkinson's law. Those 3 months traveling turned into 15, and I started to ask myself, why not take the usual 20 to 30 year retirement and redistribute it throughout life instead of saving it all for the end? Would I recommend this book? Yes, I would definitely recommend this book to everyone. Male, female, anyone above teenager. It doesn't matter your profession or your interest. I think everything in here is really helpful. Now, you might disagree with some of the things he says or some of his philosophy, but I think there's a plethora of useful, helpful things for surviving in this digital age and thriving. And furthermore, for those who are more willing to think deeply, I think this book has a lot of questions that will cause you to reflect on your life in a positive way. And that is my review of The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. I hope you enjoyed the review. Let me know what you thought below in the comments, and let me know if you agree or disagree. Thanks.